We are coming to the MatCHMaker results presentation. And now, in particular, the presentation in the next 1 hour, we will talk about industrial use cases and adoption. We will hear about examples from Heidelberg Materials Company and Genvia, showing how the project tools were applied in the industrial settings. Then the second part will be devoted to the open repository developed in the project. It will be presentation on the repository concept, semantic framework, interoperability approach, and we will have the opportunity to have a live demo as well. And the last part of the presentation is devoted to the tools that you are able to find in this open repository, validation and exploitation outlook. I kindly invite Alexandre from Heidelberg Materials to present us the first part of the talk, please.
Thank you, Nadja. So I am Alexandre Ouzia from Heidelberg Materials, where I work at the global R&D as a scientist. And I will present the work for Heidelberg Materials and also for Genvia, and Patrice and Maxime can correct me if I forget anything or make any mistake. So we start with the case of Heidelberg Materials. So we are one of the major cement manufacturer in the world, and especially in Europe. And I would say the main incentive you have to change is coming from the carbon permit price, which has increased dramatically over the past 10 years. So if you see over 10 years, we went from a few euros to 74 euros per ton of CO2, which actually is higher than the cost of production of cement, which means we are one of the first industry to be, let's say, hit or incentivized to change, because this has a real impact on our business. And one of the main way to, and one of the shortest way to decrease our CO2 emission consists in blending cement with what we call SCM, which I will mask. So SCM, which is this word that you see at the bottom of the slide, stands for supplementary cementitious materials. So for instance, you can blend cement with limestone, and this will proportionally decrease your CO2 emission because limestone doesn't emit much CO2. We can also use calcs and clays, which are also another way to decrease the CO2. This is the roadmap of the industry, so the cement industry, to go to net zero by 2050. So this is a plot produced by the GCCA, the Global Cement and Concrete Association. So this is a consensus plot built by the main cement manufacturer in Europe, which are present in Europe. And what you see is that by 2050, the biggest lever is, I'll put a pointer. This is carbon capture and storage, but this is not depending on us. So we are partnering with company doing the carbon capture. What we can do as a company, and in the short term, this is this lever, saving in cement and binders, which consists in blending the cement with SCM, as I was telling, because you can already see that at 2030, which is basically now in 3.5 years, so tomorrow for us, this is one of the first lever which can have an impact. And we can expect 9% of reduction already by that time. Okay, so now the challenge we have is by 2050, we expect to have a range of this so-called SCM. So I mentioned the limestone, which is the most obvious one, which you already use, but we are going to add other ones. The second one, which is big here, is the calcs and clays. And therefore, in the MatCHMaker project, we have worked with this limestone, calcs and clay cements as the first obvious, let's say, lever to decrease the CO2 emission. But we know that we will have now to cover the other SCMs, but we focus on, of course, the first biggest, most obvious SCMs that can have an impact. Now the challenge is, when you blend the cement with this new SCM, will the performance stay the same? You want to make sure that the products are as competitive as what you have on the market. And for that, we need to check the chemistry, the reactivity, and the microstructural development of these new type of cements. So we want to look at the microstructure of the cement under the microscope to be able to assess if they were going to be durable, health and safety issue, and we also want to test for strength. So, of course, cement has to be strong enough to support a building. So this is the first thing that we think about. But the one that we target in the MatCHMaker project was strength, durability, and health and safety. And I will show you a concrete case where it was actually used in the company. And what you want to develop also is this transversal reproducible workflows for each of the SCM to accelerate the development of these new cements. So the first contribution of MatCHMaker for us was an image analysis tool on microscopy image of these new cements to quantify the phase, so what are the different ingredients that you see in this new cement, and the reactivity of the SCMs. So we want to see if they are reacting fast to build up strength and durable concrete within 1 month. The other thing was health and safety concern. So we are blending with clays or cement. In clay, you may have quartz, and if quartz is too fine, it may go in the lungs of the workers, which is a health and safety hazard. So MatCHMaker, with this tool, we could also quantify that. And this actually had an impact on our production of the first cast and clay plant in France happening this year. So this is to be a bit more, how to say, to give you an idea of what we speak about. So this is a picture on the left of normal cement, the classic Portland cement. What you see as bright particle are the cement grains, and they are made mostly of two types of components, which are bluish or reddish. So the cement, when you mix it with water, will dissolve and produce the hydrates, which are in gray, and purple, which are the glues. So this glue is why our building are standing. And you have in black the porosity. So what you want to do is to quantify the amount of each of these components, because this gives us indication if it's going to be strong and durable. And on the right, you see the result of the segmentation tool that we developed together with the CEA on classic standard cement. Now, here you have now a picture of a limestone cast and clay cement. You see again this bluish, reddish, bright particle, which are the traditional cement. But now it's blended with the cast and clay, which you see as this brownish patch. And also in green, you have the quartz. So again, we develop this segmentation tool. I just go through just to visualize what is happening. And at the end, we end up with the segmentation of the cast and clay, which is going to shrink over time, but it may have different phase because clay is a multi-mineral material. So we want to be assessing which phase of the clay will specifically react. So this was helpful in this way to sharpen our understanding of the microstructure of the cement. Beside this image analysis tool, we have also developed model to predict the strength of this new cement. We have developed purely machine learning data-based model and also physics-based model. So on the left, you see that basically the idea is like if you stay in interpolation range, so in this blue region, both match very well. But as we get out of this region, the machine learning model actually failed quite miserably, whereas the physics-based model was much more robust. At the end of the day, we can go around that because if we know as an expert how to build a data set, we can still use machine learning model very efficiently. We also assess the durability of this new type of cement because the goal is to know how much we can substitute the cement with this limestone and cast and clay and stay durable. And this project allowed us to assess this, let's say, maximum substitution rate, so the minimum CO2 we can emit with this new cement. So this is in summary the impact for low carbon cement of the MatCHMaker project. The problem was, as said, we have the carbon price hit on our industry. We want to blend cement with SCMs. We want to check that this blended cement are as good in terms of strength, durability, health and safety as the current product. We have developed an image analysis workflow, 2 strength model, so machine learning or physics-based, and also some durability indicator. And now we could identify what is the minimum amount of clinker ratio, so how much CO2 we can basically decrease with this new cement. It's about 30 to 40% compared to the current product. We could clear health and safety hazard in the first production line. And we are now going to expand to new SCM. So this is now what we are going to do at the R&D in the coming months and years, is to now try to see the other SCM we have on the roadmap. And it's actually already industrialized. So we have now a plant. So this is a plant actually in Africa. And there is a plant now in France, in Ranville, so in Normandy, producing the first type of this new cement for the French concrete manufacturing plants. Is there any question before I jump to the next use case? Yes. Yeah. So edging, of course, is you have two ways to you have standard tests for durability, which are not tied to the microstructure, but what we know which phase, how they react with the atmosphere. So what we check is we want to know how much of each phase we form. There is no strange phase appearing, which could be an issue with chloride ingress or carbonation or whatever. So this gives us a first good feeling of what may go wrong with the new cement. And if this passes this check, then we go with the standard durability test.
Yeah. Okay, but would you still wait to use?
It's working. Yeah,
sorry. Would you still wait to build a bridge with this new product, or is it already qualified for?
And now it's qualified. Now you can purchase it in a few months. It's on the market basically.
That's great. Yeah, I can build a house.
You can build what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very very good to hear. Very promising. Is there any dependence on the types of clay and clay sources?
Absolutely.
That you need to take into account? Have you been able to look at that as well? Are there models to support that?
Absolutely. So there is a clear variability of the clay. The clay is a clay family. Actually, you have many types of clays around the globe. So we are actually sourcing all the material and we identify each site, and we have actually people in the department trying to assess all of the possible site of exploitation, basically. And this is actually one of the limitations because we cannot do it everywhere. So sometimes there is a bit of hype. People say we can use this type of cement everywhere, but it's not true. And this is just one aspect, because then there's the business aspect. You have to see what is the competition. For instance, India has a lot of clay, but they are also producing a lot of coal power plants, which means they're also producing a lot of fly ashes, which is also one of the SCM that you can blend. So we have then a competition with other SCM on the market. Or China is the same. They have a lot of clay. We all know the porcelain of China, which is clay, but China has an enormous stockpile amount of fly ashes and steel slags. So it's not going to happen in India and China in the coming 5 years. But in Africa, which is an emerging house in terms of demography, it will boom. There is a lot of potential. So this is why you have a plant in Africa now. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I've seen a relatively low impact of carbon capture in these first years.
Absolutely.
It surprises me. I'm actually from the institute which is developing a lot of carbon capture technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the early potential much bigger than what you foresee there? Because with zeolites or...
Okay, but 2030 is in 3.5 years.
Okay.
So that's the thing. So, and also we have the first carbon capture plant. Heidelberg has developed the first carbon capture plant for cement plant in Brevik in Norway. But there was massive subsidies from the Norwegian government. Like it was funded by 2/3 from Norway and 1/3 from us, I think. And there is a lot of, again, it has to do with business cases. It has to do with this plot. So basically, to give you the range that we expect, what I have here, you want to be above 100 euro to have a chance to consider carbon capture. If it's below, it's not going to happen. Point. Yeah. So, and then you have many, of course, carbon capture technology. There is not just the usual sequestration offshore with amine or what. So it's also a portfolio, which I guess you know. But this is, yeah, and this is one technology, and it depends of your source of CO2. What gets out of the gas of a cement plant may not be the same as in a different industry. What we do also to reduce the CO2 emission is to actually burn all the plastic that we produce in society. So we sort our trash typically in the plastic, and most of them end up in the cement plant. But now we are trying to find other source, and this add variability in the flue gases, which are at the exhaust pipe of the plant. So it's a dirty mix of gases, which ask for specific also carbon capture, I would say, technologies behind. But the range, and I talked to people from Schlumberger, so SLB now, we want to be between 100 and 200 euros per ton of CO2, depending of the place, to start to think about carbon and capture storage in our industry. This gives a range.
How does the use of the fly ash in China and India compare to the use of the clay?
So the fly ash we are already using. It's a routine. We already blend our cement with fly ashes and steel slags, because this is like an obvious way to reduce CO2 emission, and it's about as good as the clay. The issue with the clay is the variability, whereas the fly ash, you have some variability, but it's decent. And slag are the perfect SCM. Slag are the dream SCM. It's reacting. It's consistent because the steel industry has a process which is robust and reliable. But the challenge with the clay is the variability indeed, and then the local business context. All right, maybe yes, I should carry on, because I think in interest of time. Yeah, it's okay. And then I move to a topic where I'm much less knowledgeable, which is the use case of Genvia. Genvia is a company which was established 5 years ago, but it's built on 15 years of R&D at the CEA and SLB, so previously Schlumberger expertise. It's 150 employees. There is 40 patents, and it's basically producing cells for hydrogen, and they're using a special technique which go at high temperature, which is unusual in this field, and it can serve different industries, which you see on the bottom right. So basically, a cell is what you see on the bottom left. From this cell, you stack them. The stack, you add them to build a module, and then the modules you can, of course, combine depending of the amount of production that you want to achieve. So it can target many industry. As we know, hydrogen is has big potential for a cleaner energy for Europe. So these are the KPI that are being tracked to improve these cells. And you see, so of course there is the amount of euro per hydrogen per hour, which they want to minimize, the amount of power also needed, and the durability. And in the MatCHMaker project, the focus was on the red highlighted line. So how to increase the power density, and MatCHMaker could contribute to that. And more focus was on the durability, because the cell, they age, and that was the question of how to help have longer, more durable cells. The degradation mechanism has to do with some nickel particle agglomeration and cracks. Cracks decrease the durability of these cells. So again, there was some SCM, so macroscopy image analysis tool developed. The challenge is, so you have on the left a black and white image, which is called a BSE picture, which is quick to acquire. It takes about a couple of minutes. On the right, you have a picture which is with color, which gets you the chemical composition. And this takes more about 1 hour. So there is a big time difference in obtaining one or the other. But what they want to do is to basically assess the damage when the cell gets reoxidized on the right picture. And the goal was to accelerate the process, so to be able to produce such a picture on the right only from the black and white image using deep learning image analysis to reduce the time needed and to automate the process. And this was achieved with a UNet architecture and led to a publication last year, which then accelerated indeed by a factor of 10 to 20 the time for analysis. Another type of model which was developed is a so-called phase field model, which simulates the reoxidation in the cell. And then I can track where the cracks may appear and what phase form. And this can help also to tune the process. So what temperature they would go, for how long, to minimize the damage in the cell. So this is in short the impact of MatCHMaker on this use case. We have limited performance and lifetime of this technology due to nickel reoxidation, which may lead to higher cost of hydrogen. Without understanding of the cracking threshold, electrode design is empirical. So this was to be more, how to say, physical understanding and faster. There was two tools, so image analysis again, plus phase field model, which ultimately led to better understanding and also, at the end of the day, to improve the electrical efficiency and the lifetime to increase it a bit. And if you have any question, I guess Patrice and Maxime will be happy to answer. And I leave the floor for the next part of the presentation to Otilia.
Are there any questions regarding the second use case? We have also Patrice in audience, who will be happy to reply. Yes. That's nice to hear. If not, we will then proceed with the open repository developed in the project. Otilia from SIMAVI company.
Thank you very much. So, as it said, my name is Otilia Bularca. I'm project manager at SIMAVI, and we were developing this open repository as part of MatCHMaker project. I will be followed by Jesper and then by Iacob with the demo. You'll meet them later. Let's see. Okay. So where did we start it from with this open repository? We have started from a state of affairs that is fairly familiar to us, meaning large amounts of data scattered in different places and in different formats. Researchers, as you have seen, use a lot of data to do their work, and they usually face this challenge of data overload and fragmented knowledge. To understand better how it feels, try to imagine being in a huge library with thousands of books, with no sense of organization, no search option, no catalog, and of course, no curator. So you start browsing. You open one book, then another. Sometimes you find what you need, sometimes you don't. And in the end, you realize that you spend more time searching than actually reading what you need. We have worked in this direction, trying to find a more modern way to reaching this organized knowledge. Considering this this challenge, the consortium partners have designed and implemented this open MatCHMaker open repository and demonstrated it starting from the use cases previously showcased by Alexandre. What does this repository do? What do we call a repository? In fact, it is first of all a common environment. It's a place where researchers, industry partners, and technical partners have access and can collaborate. Starting from existing data, we stored it in this common place, or created bridges to another set of data, and then we mapped it to existing categories and consider also the standards in the field domain. Now, after adding meaning to this data, we want to navigate to the repository, right? how could we do that? We could use a map maybe, because we want to know, we need to know what is there and what does it actually mean. You know that one word could mean different things, and different things could be used to define the same one thing. And this is an issue for an IT system. Then to clarify this, ontologies are the PEL helping in the process, because ontologies define concepts and relationships, and basically create a shared language. A language that is both understood by machine and by humans. So now we have somehow moved beyond the stored data and cataloged it to a system that understands how information relates and how the users can start exploring the repository with a certain purpose. Now I will hand over to Jesper for some details about the ontologies prepared.
So this slide here shows a little messy, but it shows really the way to walk from our raw data and into data that is so well described that we can use it to act open. So the first step is to give it meaning. And we are doing that by cataloging the data, saying where you find the data sets, describing it with abstracts and so on. So it's human accessible, it's findable and accessible. Then you can also describe how the data is structured internally, opening up the data set. This is beyond the DCAT. This really provides interoperability. Then we have the meaning of the data. The next step, we want to understand the context, document the context, and that means how the different data sets are related, how it's related to other resources. It can be people, projects, it can be characterization procedures, and so on. Everything that needs materials, of course, that are investigated. So all that context. Then, yeah, we have the contextual documentation. We start now to be able to navigate. We can much better reuse the data because we have the context. And the last step is to document semantic. That enhance the context. It makes it possible to reason about the data and really for machines to utilize the data to make it actionable. And all of these parts here we have been working on in MatCHMaker, and we have a set of tools for it, so that are that have been working on to make this documentation and steps. We also have created a underlying. Maybe I should go back. So of course, a very important part of this semantic documentation is exactly the ontologies that provides this common language that Otilia mentioned. In MatCHMaker, we are relying on EMMO, and already before the MatCHMaker started, and a lot of domain ontologies has been created around EMMO. For instance, within batteries, we have electrochemistry and batteries. Cameo that Gerhard Goldbeck here has been working on. And so this is a common background that we have been utilized. So the domain ontologies we have been created in MatCHMaker for the different user cases are reusing that, and that means that it becomes a quite complex ontological framework. It enhances what exists, the environment, but it also required actually some thinking, and we ended up also made a big documentation of how to contribute to the domain ontologies to such that we can create a consistent network, because things like versioning starts to actually be very important. Yes, then we will hand over.
Yes, it's back to me again to just trying to summarize what does this system do. You already gathered that it adds meaning through annotations and ontologies. It connects data from different sources. It keeps everything organized in one environment. And on top of all this, we have a set of AI tools that allows users to ask questions in natural language. Now, of course, you may wonder if this actually works beyond the slides. We have tested it in real setups, and you will see just after the presentation a live demo. For now, let's see what did we observe during the experimentation. For instance, we have seen that search time was reduced, and this is important when you have a lot of things to skim through. Data was accessed easier, and it was easier to connect to existing data sets. So instead of preparing and aligning data to different formats, researchers could now focus on analyzing and exploring the relationships between them. And some lessons that we have learned along the way. First, we need to be aware that technology alone is not enough. Interoperability requires meaning. And as Jesper defined, this is common semantics. And it's usually manually done. It requires human help. Then adoption depends on the ease of use. And in the end, value comes only from if you manage to fit into what already exists, not trying to change everything. What happens next? It is rather clear that there is a need on the market. We generate data every day, and this needs to be connected. In MatCHMaker Open Repository is designed to work with things that already exist, with research infrastructures, with industrial systems, and it is also flexible when it comes to exploitation pathways. This means that some parts could be used or reused, kept open in a place and reused whenever we need. Some other could be customized for specific needs, or others could be driven by partners in dedicated applications. What happens beyond the implementation of the project? Because this is the big question at the end of an R&D project always. We have a system that we will see works, and we have some differentiators, some distinctive features that could help us approach the market. We have seen that it turns scattered data into connected knowledge. It turns isolated files into shared meaning, creating a common language, and transforms searching into understanding. Last but not least, this analytical framework could be reused and embedded in existing ecosystems because it is domain field agnostic. Thank you very much. If you have questions. Yes. Now Iacob will demonstrate, but I don't know from this laptop. Okay.
Hello everyone. My name is Iacob Crucianu. I think I need one more hand, but okay, I'll try to manage.
If you want, I can.
Okay. Well, my name is Iacob Crucianu. I'm from SIMAVI, Romania. And I'll try to present the tools we have developed. MatCHMaker is a multidisciplinary project, and on one part, beside the material science, which is present here in the majority of the project, there is another part which is related to computer science, and this part related to computer science I want to present you. And me, as a computer science participant in this project, I try to show you what tool we have created to be used in the material science. We try to create a kind of smart hammer for you to break the stones and create smarter materials. And this is what we try to do. And we try to understand the real situation and what that tool should construct. Well, MatCHMaker project started in December 2022. Almost in the same time, ChatGPT was launched. So when we started the project, it was a big challenge for us to walk near AI and ChatGPT evolution. And all the time we had in mind to use the huge advances in computer science related to artificial intelligence and to use them inside our project and give more value to our project by using such kind of tools. Even if in the proposal phase, it was not imagine the huge advance in this period, we try to be aligned with it. Let me okay. Well, hopefully the connection is good enough to start the system. Sorry. Okay. Well, now, well, as any other software tools, you have to log in. But what I want to mention here is that register on the bottom part, and I'll explain you that register is used for person outside the project to access some information. I'll explain what, later what kind of information we can let me see what well, you can see my password, no problem. It is also on my banking system, no problem. So if you remember, it's Iacob, and the password you remember, it's not a problem. Okay, but it's not a problem also for me, because on my banking system there is not enough money for you all, and so it's not a problem. Well, as any other software system, it has a dashboard, it has several pages and a menu on the left. But what is special for this system? Because there are some special things. It is called repository. Repository for everybody usually means storing data, putting data somewhere. There are plenty of repository in the world. I'm starting, for example, Git. Git is used mostly for software developers, but not only for software developers. Also, I realize that in material science, a lot of people are working, even if they are creating software, but even documentation is placed on Git. And there are plenty other systems like this one. For example, I have here some links, Tripper, AMC ontologies, and so on. So there are other places where data is stored, and we are using them. Our idea was not to double the storage, but to use the existing storage and to organize it. Because a lot of time used by people is to search and to organize data, and less time left for analyzing, for the real things to be done. And because of that, we try to organize the data by using different sources, and that different sources are external system, local system, and other kind of things. So the first usage and the first functionality of what we are offering is this, the possibility to link different sources of data and to take data from different places. For example, here, what I can do, I am reading now data from a server, an FTP server. It happens that this FTP server is located in SIMAVI. Okay, what I can do, and this is very important, I have here a file, and what I can do, I can add this file to a project. What does it mean? This is the way, and not only from FTP server, from any other external sources, I can browse that external sources, I can select what I need, and after that I can add to a project. A project is my own location where I put data which is of interest for me, for my team, and for the people who are working on the same direction. So the first functionality of the system refers to collecting data from what I have shown before and put it in a project. This is from FTP. The same can happen from Git. There are several Git repositories accessible, and from that Git repositories, I can select files and I can add to different places. This is the first things to do, which in fact it's not something new. The collection of data is possible also in other places. But what is this time new refers to adding semantic to what we are doing, a kind of aligning, making the same understanding for everybody for some elements. And the way we are doing this is by associating ontologies to the data. When we associate an ontology to a data, immediately we enlarge the way that data is viewed. We add plus value to that data. For this simple word, chement, okay, can be found in several places. But once we are adding an ontology, we are adding a semantic to this word, immediately we are linking it, like it is shown on the figure, with other objects, with other elements. And the tool allows the user to explore and to see an object as integrated in a whole world. This is the main, let's say, addition to the repositories we are offering, and for other repository, this is not possible. This is one thing. And this thing is done here, for example, can be done here in this, there are use cases in the project. We have 3 use cases. And for that use cases, there are lots of information and also can be worked and done easily. Well, this is one part. Another part refers to the usage of AI. Well, in this moment on this laptop, there is not a GPU, and not being a GPU, I cannot show you a live usage of AI. So I'll just tell you what is possible, and I'll tell you what is possible by using that buttons. We are able to use LLM, that means large language models, to train the system with data we have on our own repository. So in our own repository, we are placing data, we are collecting data from heterogeneous sources. We are annotating this data with what I showed you before, ontology. So we are adding semantic to the data. And after that, we are placing our data in a larger system. And this larger system is a model, an LLM model. But this LLM model is not outside our system. We are not using ChatGPT or Gemini or other, which is, and have to have a subscription somewhere. No, we have our own model, which is implemented on our servers. This model comes with, we are using 4 models. The biggest one has 70 gigabytes. The biggest one is GPT-4 free edition, because there is also paid edition, but we are using a model which is free, at least in this moment, which is on our server, and we are training this model. We are adding with this train, we can select our data, and we can add to an existing large model our information, and when we obtain the result, the biggest result, then the information from outside model, from, let's say, ChatGPT, in a word, is combined with what we have, and by this combination, we obtain a real good description of what we need. So let me see if I ask my friend if I forgot something. So about this subjects. Well, I think that I cover the most important things of what this software can offer. Playing with the software is the best things to see what it is able to do. All the information is secured. What does it mean? The access to the information is role-based. So I was asked to enter my username and password. On the behind, there is a role. And because on the behind, I had the role to, I am administrator. And because I am administrator, okay, I have several, I am the god of this system. So I can do a lot of things. But it's not only role-based, it's also ownership-based. When I create a project, and here there are 3 projects corresponding to the 3 use cases. When I create such kind of project, immediately I am the owner of the project. Being the owner of the project, I can add, I can delete, I can do everything. But if I want my colleague to do the same things, I have to explicitly share the project. This is one step. And another step is to make it public. So if I want, so it is allowed that what I have done to be viewed for all over the world, I can public the project. And when after I public the project, then immediately all the people can see. But there is necessary to enter a username and a password, even if the username and the password is public, as is guest. So that's there are technical reasons to make this work. When I at the beginning, when I enter my username and password, I told you that there is such request for accounts. So the user on the first time can request an account, and in this case there is a conversation on email, and after the account is created, an email is automatically sent, and the user should enter the email and okay, accept condition and terms and conditions and so on. This is how the system is open, because at the beginning we were speaking about open repositories. So it is open up to some condition. So it is some data is protected, and is protected role-based and ownership-based. That's all. In few words, yes.
The question is, let's say we're going to start from new project, the very new topic. What is for you the key elements to put together the work that you have done and different on excellence? You said, okay, I put the data is being to add the ontology, to do that, it will go fixing the magic and do that. If I start on the project on a very different topic, what is the effort?
Well, from software point of view, the whole system is agnostic. So I give you the software like it is now in this moment, and you have to put data and ontology and train the system, train the LLM with your data, and it will work. Point. In fact, what I Yes. Just a moment, because when I create annotation, I have to select another project here to be okay. Just a moment. Button. I can upload annotation from an Excel, and here I can add annotation. Okay, add annotation. But what is important here? You can see here. Here I can make a search in annotation. Okay. Sorry, something I find classes. Okay, execute query. Okay, and here should be the results. And from the results, I can click here or here, and suddenly this will be, in fact, annotation added as metadata to the data I have. It's not automatically. No, the answer is yes and no. There are some parts which means yes. That means when I add, automatically some annotation is added, and the information is taken from the name of the file, from some elements. So there are some annotations are automatically added, but the link with ontology is not automatically added. The link with ontologies should be done manually or by using a script.
So the tooling I was speaking about in the first slide, we have a set of tools that allows you to document things. It's done for time reasons, we did not show it, but we have a set of the user can add, for example, Excel sheets where they just all each resource that you want to document, you just put on a row, and then you have some keywords on the top, and from that the semantic is derived. And the real way how it's used in reality, that has been done also in MatCHMaker, is that these Excel sheets are actually generated from the data source directly. So it's not that you're sitting and just giving yet another interface. It's the intended use is really that it should be automatized from the source. And all the knowledge that everything that can be derived automatically should be done that via scripts. Yes.
Upload annotation. Add
Exactly.
annotation and upload annotation. Add means typing, upload means having annotation prepared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
First of all, organize on paper what you want to do. So, okay, next, create here a obtain an account. Okay, and after that, create here a project and start to collect data from where it is placed and put it inside the project. Yes. Is exactly what I have here. I have here resources, also somewhere, data explorer, okay. File system, so local file system. So if I have one local file system, I put them in project, there is a right button, add to project. If I have them in my company on FTP server, HTTP server, access, right button, add to project. If I have put in project, okay, and after that, probably you will need that annotation and ontology, but also you need to define ontology or to use some ontology.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
You own the data, and you okay. Well, the architecture of the system is federated. What I was presented you here is just one node, and there is a nice, I suppose, somewhere in admin. There is just a moment to show you. I did not enter in, okay, in admin. Somewhere there is topology, system topology. Okay. So the system is federated and distributed. How you can work? You can have your own node, and the data will be only on your own node. Only metadata will be synchronized with all the other nodes. So your data will remain on your side. Never it will left your side and be present on, let's say, SIMAVI side, but the metadata will be present. Why? Because on the search mechanism, the search will be done in metadata, and there will be an indication that, oh, okay, if you need data, please access this, and you have the right to give or not. I suppose that this year, 1 year after the project massing. Why? Because the software system is not a big deal. The real important things is the software plus the data. So if you have the software and the data, there is value. If you have only the software, let's say it's open source.
May I add a point here? So the portal here, that gives you a place to where you can upload the data, and it has a knowledge base. Really, to populate this knowledge base, we need, in this case, you said you had your data in spreadsheets. What we will do is that you link you map the columns of your spreadsheet to concepts and ontologies. We do that via JSON-LD. So that we simply just, and that is when, as soon as you have this JSON-LD, this process is completely automated. So, but these mappings are essential, and that is something we need to find the right ontologies, and so we need someone that can help you with that. There were more questions.
I have created and I have tested, but I have simulated 3 nodes on the same server using Docker machines. So there is a whole thing. The idea comes from Bitcoin. So how we implemented this in a similar way, whole Bitcoin distributed system is working. So there are several nodes, and we have implemented the peer-to-peer mechanism to exchange data between, to exchange metadata between nodes. But it is in this stage. It's not. It was never put on the test stage when real nodes on different locations and placed and so on. So the mechanism, the technical mechanism was tested, but the business mechanism is not tested.
And to address the DCAT, yes, when you document a data set, the distribution is of course there. That ensures accessibility, which is part. So you have the download URL and so on. What is needed for accessibility? That is typically documented with a data set.
Reg, just reg. There is a button here which is called reg, and it is just reg.
I just want to get it straight from work from so what I think I hear, what I like is that this two levels, right? So you do first you upload data sets. So data set about the startup today, but not anything about what's inside the data, right? That's
right.
First. That initially that really take on the quality reduction and quality.
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
This is how we do.
And also, if I have that already, I can load the data set that already have that also inside. Or if I don't have it, I can load anyway and then do the annotation once the data are already existing that way. Correct?
Yes. So if you have everything in RDF, you can just populate in another space.
It's inside. Right? Ones that are only, you know, this is the data that I'm going to this year, it's about to make categories.
Exactly.
These after then, after we have more out to the volume or
Exactly. Yeah.
You can see
then I can
that.
also add myself. I could say, okay, now I have this inside. Okay, now in life, but to which that everything. I'd say, maybe add more.
Exactly.
Have something similar with that. Link data and mechanism.
These exactly they're annotated, and then where you see the connections, they start to be annotated, and we have this the knowledge graph. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, probably I'll disappointing you. It's not version enabled in this moment. So if you update, okay, there will be a updated. You'll have the last version. If you save it somewhere, you have some saved version. But as it is now, it is not version based. It's not like Git, where it is version based, where you have branches and so on. We might create future developments on this idea, but what we have now is not version based. You can do as you want. There is no limitation in any direction regarding the granularity of the data. It's the way the researchers wants. Yes, but you realize that if you are going in a very detailed structure, there will be not enough space on the screen to see the whole tree structure. This in fact is okay. There is scrolling mechanism, but in fact this is the limitation. Your screen.
You can. It's possible to populate another space.
You have to address directly that person. You will obtain information to whom to address, probably, if there, because the system can do that, but the address will be directly to that person. So we cannot negotiate a relation between nodes. We can tell one node that, okay, that information exists in that place, point. It's exactly like Google. You ask Google, you obtain a URL, a link, and after that, if you have rights, you can access the link. If you don't have rights, we are not having in the platform this kind of management of address. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Iacob. Yes, I can close this one. Yes, and it's killed for you. And I take here. So that was the demo. And now, so good morning, everyone. I am Geoffrey Daniel. I work at the CA. And I will present you. So now, after the open repository, Iacob has shown you some folders that are inside the open repository that contains some information, some data, and also some tools that have been developed during the MatCHMaker project. So I will present here some of the tools that are available on the open repository. So we have 3 use cases as Ludovic has presented this morning. So the first use case is dedicating to cement and cement-based analysis. And here we have developed a workflow that Alexandre has mentioned this morning also, which is a workflow for segmentation of cement-based images. So here, what we take is images from scanning electron microscopy, so backscattered electron and EDX images, so it's elemental maps. And by using this, we want to analyze what are the phases inside this image. So we have developed a workflow which is semi-automatic. Why is it semi-automatic? It's because it required some expert knowledge to make the annotation. It is based on machine learning, but if you know a bit of machine learning, it's unsupervised machine learning. So because it's unsupervised, we need some then expert knowledge to make it interpretable. And then this interpretation, so it creates the segmented images with quantification of each phase inside this image, which is a quantity of interest to characterize the cement samples, and then to associate with possible physics-based model to explain the evolution of the cement paste. So actually, this tool is available with some data on the open repository. So the benefit is that by using this expert knowledge also, it is less sensitive to acquisition conditions because the expert can also mitigate the possible shift due to change in acquisition conditions. We can provide some uncertainty and some new features that are interesting for cement analysis, such as the analysis, a specific analysis for the hydrate phase. One maybe limitation is that it's experts based also, so it's more time consuming than a full automatic workflow, and there is some possible subjectivity of the user. So this is one specific limitation here. However, now by using this kind of workflow, we can produce some data then that could help us to use what we call supervised machine learning to have something that is fully automatic. And this is the second tool, which is a deep learning model that has been developed in one of the partners of the project, IMAN. So it uses only one image, which is a backscattered electron image, which is faster to acquire than the other elemental maps. By using this, we are able to, by using a deep learning model, to segment into the main phases of the image. So here it's a fully automatic workflow. So that's one benefit. It necessitates only the backscattered electron image, so it's really fast, actually faster to acquire. However, it's limited to the main phases since we do not have the details of the elemental maps. We cannot separate inside some sub-phases. And also, it can be sensitive to acquisition conditions because it is trained on the optimal acquisition conditions. And if there is some drift, we cannot guarantee the result. So now I move to the second use case, which is the solid oxide fuel cells. So here we have the same kind of problem as for the cement use case, which is the segmentation of images into the phases that composes these images. So these phases actually they are usually segmented by using the backscattered electron image and the DX elemental map image, which are long to acquire. And by using, so conventionally, by using also a human annotation that is then extrapolated by another software. So it's a long process, a few hours for processing this. And now we have developed a deep learning segmentation tool that requires only the backscatter electron image, and it's fully automatic. So by using this, we have, instead of having a few hours of processing for characterizing one image, it's now a few minutes. And then it provides also uncertainty. So if there are some part of the image that are not certain because there can be ambiguities, we are able to provide uncertainty of this, and then an expert can analyze this specific part of the images. One maybe limitation is also the acquisition conditions. It has been trained on specific acquisition conditions, specific zooming. And if we want to use other conditions, we need to retrain the algorithm or to make it more general by adding some data for the training. And then, so the third use case is the proton exchange membrane fuel cells. So here we use another modality of imaging, which is the tomographic electron microscopy. Here, it's not really visible on this image, but actually you can see this as a cloud with several particles inside. And the question is a bit different than before. The objective is to identify nanoparticles inside this image. So it's maybe more clear here. So some nanoparticles, and we have developed deep learning algorithms that try to analyze to put some bounding box around these particles. And what is interesting to characterize also for this kind of sample, it's the size of the nanoparticles, which is related to the performance of the electrode. So here, by using this, we are able to analyze, to extract the bounding box around the particles, to make the histogram distribution of the sizes, which is the quantity of interest, automatically. So, and also by using a single tomographic image. One limitation for the moment on this tool is that the very small nanoparticles are hard to detect by this kind of algorithm. So we are working on this. And there are also some complex overlaps since we have to see this kind of image in 3D. So maybe some nanoparticles can overlap on one image, and they can be hard to separate. And finally, so the last tool is also dedicated to tomographic emission microscopy. Again, so here it's more to accelerate the acquisition process. So for this kind of acquisition, we need to have a certain time of acquisition to have a good signal to noise ratio. However, so it would be interesting to have shorter time. So by using shorter time, we have a degradation of the quality of the acquisition. However, by using some denoising algorithm, we wanted to recover the quality of a long time acquisition by using only a short time acquisition. So we have developed a deep learning tool. So actually, neural networks are quite good to make something to apply denoising, and we have applied this to this kind of images, and actually it works quite well. So the idea is that instead of acquiring a full image, we can reduce the acquisition time by a factor of 4 or 10, depending on the quality we require. So that's can be very interesting to reduce the acquisition time. However, for the moment, what we have seen is that there is a possible loss of contrast that we are currently investigate, but maybe with a post-processing algorithm, we would be able to overcome this limitation. But here, that's interesting to characterize more samples rapidly. Also, so to denoise this, and then applying also the nanoparticle identification algorithm. So thank you. I don't know if we take questions. Maybe yes, maybe no. So actually, for very large images, so we divide the large images into patches, so such as this size, and then we have an algorithm just to make it as a global image again. So this is why we have required several. So it's not a lot of images. Of course, the representativity is a very question. If we, yeah, maybe you can answer. So this you should. Mm. Yes. Yes. Yes, it's connected to physics-based model that Maxime has developed. Yeah, it's a question of optimization process. It's that machine learning cannot do everything, of course, and it has to be connected with some knowledge, expert knowledge, so physics-based model here. We can have some data-driven approaches to make the optimization, but of course, if we need to reduce the CO2, we need to have some measurement of the CO2 emissions according to some images, and then explore the space of all the possibilities. But that's not the purpose of this work, which is focused on image analysis, which is useful also for the physics-based modeling. Of course, exactly. Yeah. Actually, for the online people, yeah. I hope they can hear it. The uncertainty. So here, for the uncertainty, so there are two kinds of uncertainty. There are uncertainty due to the ambiguity between some phases. So due to the fact that we are in between two phases. So this kind of what we call aleatoric uncertainty is provided directly by the deep learning model. Actually, deep learning model, they do not predict a class, they predict a probability. So by studying this probability, if we have a probability of 50% to be in one phase and 50 in another phase, it's a part of uncertainty. That's the first part. The second part, it's what we call ensemble. So we train several models and we see if they agree or not. If one model says it's 80% for one phase and the other model says it's 20%, we say, okay, there is discrepancy between the models. It means that maybe we are in a strange region, something that is really ambiguous. So this is why we can produce two maps of uncertainty like this, maps which actually represent mainly the boundaries, and another map that can spot, oh, this particle is quite strange. So it's actually, it's quite simple, this assembly method, but in the state of the art for the uncertainty quantification in deep learning, it's one of the best methods that we have for the moment. But it's heavy, we have to train several models and then make the inference with several models, 10 models actually. And everything, if you want, everything is described in the paper that we have published on this. I can provide you the reference. Actually, I did not have the place on the slide. That's okay. Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Giuseppe. I'm working for RINA Consulting, and in particular here in MatCHMaker, I was acting as exploitation manager to understand what can be happen later in the post-project phase. Together with the whole consortium, we had the chance to reason about some phases that could be follow the MatCHMaker project, and starting in the phase one, so the consolidation phase, considering the 1 year post project, we assessed actions like the core service stabilization, for example, the data ingestion, some implementation about the open repository, and so on. The governance formalization. Many of the partners that were involved, that are involved in MatCHMaker, contributed to the development of this open repository. And so there will be, of course, a joint ownership that will be formalized by each single partners involved. And then the objective in the first year will be the one to achieve the full operational alignment with the principles that mean with fair principles related to the findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable principles. In the second phase, the one that will go through the second year, more or less, it will be the chance to get a sort of domain expansion. So what it means, the capabilities of the platforms need to be implemented with, for example, additional high growth materials domains that we will see further in the presentation. Then a second action could be the one related to the federated ecosystem integration. So implementing a progressive integration into the European data spaces and the marketplaces to then maximize the cross-domain interoperability with the open repository. Community onboarding. Here in this phase will be crucial to get known, I will say, and to engage, to involve the user, especially in this case, I mean, with the open repository, with the freemium access. We will see later in details the options that we developed. And this is a chance to get known by the community and get developed to get the highest TRL as possible. Third and last phase that will be over the 2 years will be evaluated some value-added service to launch with in the open repository. There will be a quantification about the numbers of the financial model to get it, of course, sustainable. So there will be revenues that will cover and will overcover the cost and the ecosystem pillar positioning. Solidifying the open repository as a stable will be an indispensable building block within the European materials data ecosystems. Just to make a context again of MatCHMaker, the MatCHMaker open repository is positioned as a first of its kind distributed data and knowledge mesh. And here it was acting as a digital bridge between the academic research and the industrial application. This was the concept, and the value proposition was the one related to the sustainable innovation. What it means, the objective, the value proposition that the open repository is going to give is the one, for example, to reduce the material design costs, to improve in development time through the integration of data physics-based models and the AI-driven approaches. Starting with the sector where to place the open repository, we reasoned about the materials informatics, in particular, that it is a sector that is considered to growth in the next 10 years at least, about around on average on 20% of compound annual growth rate. In parallel with the materials informatics, we also considered the construction sector, for example, that it is a more modest rate, I will say, that it is around 6.7. But then we also considered the sustainable construction materials and the green building materials that are growing at a rate about 12%, I would say, and it should be 8.5. Then the last market we considered was the one related mostly to fuel cell, and also that market is growing at a rate higher than the 20%. So primary market that will be in which will be exploited the open repository, of course, will be the one that involves the use cases developed in MatCHMaker, so the construction, energy, and mobility sectors. But the secondary market will be also the one related more to the R&D departments of the companies, academia, ICT and AI developers, but also the standardization bodies. Core domains, as I said before, we focused on 3 critical low carbon use cases, but of course, this open repository, it will be involved into additional high growth sectors like biomaterials, for example, additive manufacturing, and so on. About the tier, I will say, of the open repository. The first tier will be the one related to a sort of freemium service. What it means? There will be free access to public datasets. So I expect that, for example, the customer segments will be should be the academia, I guess, to make some research and study about the with the data that they need to have. With a second tier, we can consider a sort of service-based repository. What does it mean? It means that there will be a fee that need to quantify, and at the beginning of this commercial exploitation, it will be lower to attract the users, to involve them, and get to them some add-ons, I will say, on the repository. The third and the last one will be the one related to consultancy and integration services. So while in the second tier, I can see like some, I will say, R&D departments that could be interested in. In the third tier, I can see that if someone needs a sort of more customized, tailored service, for example, I can imagine the standardization bodies that can be interested in this kind of service, asking for a sort of service consulting. Since in the first year, there will be mainly an implementation and, of course, the dissemination about the freemium open repository. There will be the need to cover the cost. So an idea will be integrate the MatCHMaker open repository in other European projects, and we will discuss later during the day, I will say, and but also identify, for example, some national or local, regional incentives that could be useful to get this sort of commercial exploitation. But then it is still under considering also some R&D investment portfolio of the company that is leading the open repository. Any question, doubts so far? I don't know if you have questions. Otherwise, I guess that we can go to have a break, I will say. Thank you so much.